Good evening and welcome to the Tri-Cities Mountain Empire Weekly Digital Fusion Net. This is N4NT. My name is Adam. I'll be the net control station for this evening's net. This net meets each Tuesday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time in the Bristol Amateur Radio Club Fusion Room, 61243. The Mirrors Room, or Mountain Empire Amateur Radio Society Room, 40843 will serve as a backup should the Bristol room be down at that time. Whenever possible, recordings of this net are uploaded to the Bristol Amateur Radio Club's YouTube page, and the net is also broadcast live on the Bristol Amateur Radio Club's Facebook page. And we plan on doing both of those tonight. And we will also upload a link to the recorded net, usually by the next day, at the web address qsl.net/TCME for Tri-City Mountain Empire. This net emanates from the Tri-Cities area, consisting of counties in northeast Tennessee and the Mountain Empire of southwest Virginia. All amateurs are welcome to check in. The purpose of the net is to promote good fellowship among amateur radio operators, encourage the use of the digital fusion mode, improve communication skills, allow contacts outside of the Tri-Cities and Mountain Empire area, and to share technical information and comments with the group. At this time, in a moment, we'll start taking check-ins. The net is a check-in and comment format. So if you don't wish to make comments, just let us know that you're in and out. Otherwise, if you just check in, we will come back to you for comments. When checking in, give your call sign, name, and location. At this time, we will begin taking check-ins from any stations. Any stations that would like to check in, please call now.
WE4AWJ, Emmett, Bristol, Virginia.
Kilo Delta 4 Whiskey Mike X-Ray, KD4WMX, Ken and Quiet Lodi, Washington County, Virginia, on the 443 KM4 repeater.
K1KC near Atlanta, Chris. Alpha Jeff down here in Monroe, Georgia. Evening, Adam.
W4RZW Ben, Noonan, Georgia.
N4XRD Ralph in Chilhowie, Virginia.
Kilo 8, Romeo Tango, M in Hurricane, West Virginia.
U8LL, Mike in Hurricane, West Virginia.
Check in AB8RL, Alpha Bravo 8 Radio Lima, Tom in Scott Depot, West Virginia.
W78DC, Yuma, Arizona.
In Johnson City, Tennessee.
Here. First we had WE4AWJ, Emmett in Bristol, Virginia, KD4WMX, Ken in Lodi, Virginia, K1KC outside of Atlanta, Georgia, KF4VQA, Jeff in Monroe, Georgia, W4RZW, Ben in Noonan, Georgia. I believe this is your first time with us tonight, Ben. Welcome. N4XRD, Ralph in Chilhowie, Virginia, K8RRT, Tim and NU8LL, Michael, both from West Virginia. Then we had AB8RL, Tom and Scott Depot, West Virginia. W7AZC, Sean in, I believe it was in New Mexico, and KK4BPT, Bill in Johnson City. Before I take any further check-ins, is there anyone that doubled in the midst of those check-ins that I didn't get on the list? If you doubled with someone, if you tried to check in already, please call now.
Hey, Adam, I don't think you got me in. NM4L, Ron, in Meadowview. Check in and out, please.
Okay, Ron, NM4L got you in and out. Thanks for checking in. And Sean, I got your state corrected there. I knew something wasn't right when I saw the city was Yuma and then it said New Mexico. I think maybe you might have been traveling or something when you checked in and I saved it by mistake, but I got you corrected there. All right. We'll go ahead and open it up once again, see if we've got any more check-ins before we run through the comments. Any other stations like to check in?
N4KCS, you're in Piney Flat. Check me in and out, Adam.
Kilo Golf 8 Alpha India, John in Poco, West Virginia.
Net Control, please check in. KD4 CCO, Dallas in Bristol.
And 9 YBK, Chicago Met. Checking in.
For November, Randy in South Charleston, West Virginia.
Okay, let me run through these real quick. KG8AI, John in West Virginia. I believe you're first time with us tonight. Welcome to the net. KD4CCO, Dallas and Bristol, Virginia. N9YVK, that's Chicago Met. And KE8LSN, Randy in South Charleston, West Virginia. Once again, if I did not call your name and you doubled with someone, doubles only, come back and try to check in again, please.
N4KZS, Gary in Piney Flats.
Okay, Gary, N4KZS. Yeah, I actually got you the first time, Gary, and I forgot to mention you when I was running the list there. I put you in and out, and I guess that's probably why I looked over you. But I did get you in there, Gary, and thanks for checking in tonight. Okay, so we'll go ahead and run the list. That'll give me a chance to update things. Whenever I use NetLogger, I plug in your call sign, and it will pop up your name as it is in QRZ, and I try to remember what you tell me as we go through. So if you're a new check-in and I call you by something, like my first name's Christopher, and I don't go by that. If I call you by something other than what you want to be called, let me know. I'll update it, and I'll save it, and that way next time you check in, it will tell me the right thing. All right, with each net, we usually try to have a question of the night. Tonight's question is going to be, tell us about a hobby that you have other than amateur radio, and if it relates to amateur radio, let us know about that as well. So what I will do is I'll go ahead and give my answer, and that way it'll kind of give some clarification on what we mean by the question, if it's confusing, which tonight seems pretty simple. I have had a few hobbies over the years outside of amateur radio or radio in general, but ham radio has been the number one main thing hobby-wise. I've messed around with toy trains and tried to collect a coin or two here and there. But I've kind of picked up on another hobby, and that's putting videos together and putting stuff on YouTube. And that came out of amateur radio, and right now most of what I put out there is amateur radio related using the Bristol Club's YouTube page, but thought about doing some other things. I purchased some software and stuff like that where I can play around, do some tricks with it, and it's kind of become a hobby within a hobby. Other than that, the generic answer, of course, spending time with my children and as young as they are and stuff, that's kind of like a fun hobby and playing with them, and especially as they get older. But that's probably my main hobby outside of amateur radio, and it directly relates to amateur radio. Let me put another quarter in. One of these days I want to get back into messing around with old cars and that kind of thing, especially having boys like I do. It's going to be something fun to do with them as they get older. All right, so there's my spiel of the question of the night. Again, the question of the night is strictly optional. If you want to answer it, and you don't have to limit your comments to just answering the question. Anything else you'd like to put out there, by all means, please do so. We'll start with WE4AWJ, Emmett in Bristol, Virginia. Emmett, do you have any other hobbies other than amateur radio?
Well, good evening, Adam, and everybody on the net, and all listening in. It's WE4AWJ. Yes, I do have a bunch of hobbies. There's a lot of things I like to do, a lot of things I like to try out, I hunt, I fish. But the hobby that, and I wouldn't call it a hobby, it's my second profession that can relate to amateur radio, is archaeology, which I've done for over 21 years. And what's relatable about it is a lot of the GPR, ground penetrating radar, that we use is somewhere in or near the amateur radio band. Use different types for different kind of penetration, and it bowled me over when I first saw it and found out about it. But the changing of frequencies is how the penetration works. So that and relates right into archaeology. Also, I was an amateur astronomer when I was a young boy, and of course, going to college and living, I got out of it and couldn't afford telescopes. Now I can, and so as I'm retired now, I'm going to get back into it. And of course, you've got all kinds of things that relates to it. One of the most is that you have radio telescopes, which I probably can't get into. They're pretty big. But anyway, there's a lot of noise that comes from space, and of course you've got EME, and so it all relates there. And so that's pretty much it for me. So I hope everybody has a good night and stay warm and dry. And we'll turn it back to net control. This is WE4AWJ, Bristol.
Okay, Emmett, thanks for checking in tonight. Good deal. I've heard you mention that some, but not quite as in depth as tonight. So that sounds pretty neat. We'll have to have some future conversations about that. Sounds pretty cool. I think I even remember you mentioning taking the trip overseas somewhere for some of that. So yeah, it's good to have hobbies. That's for sure. It's one of the things that we take stress classes and that kind of thing in my profession. That's one of the two things that most of those instructors will instruct you to have is a good hobby outside of your work and have a good church family. All right, up next we have Ken in quiet Lodi, Virginia, KD4WMX. Good evening, Ken. Tell us if you have a hobby outside of amateur radio.
Well, good evening, Adam. Appreciate you picking up on that. This is KD4WMX in quiet Lodi, Washington County, Virginia. And I have to say my hobby other than ham radio is working. Since I work my full-time job 6 days a week and then volunteering to Master Rescue for the 7th day. So I don't have much time for anything but working in amateur radio. But I mean, I do try to leave radios on, and Precious comes home and says, I hear voices in the house. Because I'm working radios on. But totally there's medication for that sort of thing. But anyway, with that, we'll put in another quarter. But with that, I will say 73 and turn it back to net control. And for NT, this is KD4WMX. And don't forget to tell KD4CCO happy birthday. 73, everybody.
Okay, Ken, thanks for checking in. And yeah, I can relate. You know, I did the EMS primarily, or most of my time was volunteer. So technically, you volunteer at something that kind of makes it a hobby, even if it's something where professionalism is still a key part of, like fire and EMS. So yeah, those hobbies have went by the wayside for me with my current job. And some days, especially when I get to get out there and kind of do traffic stuff, my job feels more like another hobby as well on those days. And then some days it feels like I'm counting the days to retirement, you know, how that goes. Yeah, thanks for mentioning that too, by the way. It is KD4CCO, Dallas. It's his birthday today, so I want to wish Dallas a happy birthday. He's down the list there about number 16, so it's feel like they're just be sure to wish Dallas a happy birthday. All right, up next we have my good friend Chris, K1KC, outside of Atlanta, Georgia. Chris, do you have any hobbies outside of amateur radio?
Yeah, women. I never get to participate in that hobby. I'm interested in everything, but the things that I've been heavily involved in all of this time, as well as radio, has been music. I'm a musician. I've been playing drums for 56 years. Been in the praise band, played classical music, played country music, played whatever paid a dollar or didn't pay a dollar. Promised to pay a dollar, but never did. So played in smoky bars and auditoriums, and so it would be music, Adam. It would be music. And I would like to talk to Ben after the net. K1KC.
Okay, Chris, good deal. Didn't know that about you. That's pretty interesting. So that's good to hear. We'll have to converse about that sometimes. I am not in any way musically inclined or talented. I took about a year of band and tried to play the drums, and I could play one drum, and I don't know. I couldn't go back and do the what little bit I did before, but. Oh, not that I don't wish I could. Just never could pick it up. All right. Up next we have KF4DQA, Jeff in Monroe, Georgia. Do you have any hobbies or anything else you'd like to tell us about, Jeff?
Hey, Adam, and everybody on the net. Good net tonight. And howdy to my neighbor down the road, Chris, there. And yeah, I didn't know you played the drums either, but you keep the beat of the band. And Adam, so one of my hobbies is music. I play the guitar. I used to be in several bands, praise band, then country, blues, classic rock, and I was the rhythm player in electric and acoustic. And I learned a lot. I never took music lessons, but I learned a lot from the drummers. How to keep the beat, 4/4 and 6/8 beat.
That helped me a lot. And another hobby was, back years ago, was astronomy. I think the first gentleman said he was an amateur astronomer and had a pretty nice refractor, 3-inch telescope. And I used to get together with a group of folks and go from North Georgia area out of the city lights and stargaze at all kind of neat stuff. And a lot of them had computer-generated telescopes that could you punch in coordinates to what you wanted to see, and bingo, there was. But and then ham radio. That's what I do now, and I just play here at the house for my own listening pleasure on the guitar. And I'll hear a song on the radio and I go, I want to learn that song, and so I'll learn it and then enjoy playing it. So, but with that, that's about it for the hobbies. And back to you, Adam, from KF4VQA.
Okay, Jeff, thanks for checking in tonight. And Emmett, the other fellow that mentioned that, he's local here in Bristol and has obviously has Fusion radios, but he's a frequent monitor of our repeater here in his retired days. So if you ever want to give him a shout and converse with him about that, he's usually around. You can connect to our room here and maybe able to get a hold of him there. All right, up next we have W4RZW, Ben, in Georgia. Good evening, Ben. Do you have any other hobbies?
W4RZW. Other than ham radio, I like to hike and stuff like that. I like to take a little HT with me. Also, lately my wife and I, we've gotten into traveling around the southeast. We're on the southwest side of Atlanta, so we're pretty new to the area, about a year or two, almost 2 years now we've been here. So we go to, lately we've gone to North Carolina and Florida, stuff like that, just kind of staying around the area, but gives us something to do on the weekend, and take a radio with us and do that. So it kind of ties in, but just for me, it's a way to get out of the weekly stresses of work and stress that goes with it. That's really all I got. Thanks for coming in that W4RZW.
Okay, Ben, thanks for checking in with us tonight. And I think Chris said he wanted to holler at you afterwards there. But it's good to hear that. That kind of reminded me, too. I forget about some hobbies because they're, a regular part of life, like my wife and I actually both like to go target shooting occasionally. Actually, bought her a couple Christmases ago. Got a good deal on a Smith & Wesson 9mm shield, and I bought 2 of them. I carry it as my off-duty weapon, and then she has a carry permit and carries hers as well. And we go shooting together occasionally. I don't just limit it to what my job requires as far as the 8 to 12 hours a year that we go to the range. I try to go on my own too, and try to remain as proficient as I possibly can, even take my work gun with me and shoot it some as well. All right, up next on the list we have N4XRD. Good evening, Ralph.
Good evening, Adam. N4XRD here in Chilhowie, Virginia. Boy, somebody designed this question just for me, because I've just gone through the hobbies in my lifetime. I'm a lifelong backpacker, so summits on the air is kind of a natural for me, and I've been slowly building up the gear to do the soda stuff. Here in Southwest Virginia, where I am, there are numerous unactivated peaks. There's one I can see from the front porch of where I'm working now that is just so tempting because it's a fairly low local peak and it's never been activated. I also like old vehicles. I've got a 33 Plymouth Street Rod, and when I bought it, it was set up for cross-country travel and had a mobile radio installed on it. Well, I want to put a proper mobile in it, and see what I can do going down the road with that. I also like to travel in motorhomes. I've been doing that for, I think, 38 years. And I've started doing parks on the air in the motorhome, so that's a real natural thing. But my really biggest crazy fringe hobby is kite flying. And I guess it's my second or third childhood type activity, but I've got a bunch of kites. I've got stunt kites mostly, 2-line and 4-line, and then I have a pretty good selection of power kites and a couple kite buggies. And single-line kites can be used to lift amateur antennas. If you go to SodaBeam's website, you can see where they sell a kite, and they also have some advice on how to lift your antenna and use it for your amateur radio. So I'm down here in the kite dungeon. It's about a quarter of my basement is just dedicated to kites. And if you look on my QRZ page, you can see a little bit of the kite dungeon and a few kites in it. And another thing I do is I'm like antique collecting. So these days I'm looking for amateur radio gear all the time and finding some pretty cool stuff. So enough from the kite dungeon. And for XRD, back to you, Adam.
Okay, Ralph, thanks for checking in tonight. And, yeah, that's pretty interesting. Didn't know that, and yeah, I had never really thought about that. That sounds like a pretty cool hobby, though. Actually, yeah, this question is we're definitely learning some things about one another, and also just learning some things in general. So that's pretty cool. I kind of actually came up with it last minute. I didn't have any submissions and didn't really have much opportunity this week to think about it. So over the last hour or so, came up with that one. It's turned out to be a good one. We might have to recycle that one in a year. So, all right. Up next we have K8RRT Tim in West Virginia. Tim, do you have any hobbies or anything else to tell us about?
Well, that's a great question. Definitely a great question to stir a lot of thoughts, and I've enjoyed the other comments from the other hams here on the net this evening. Quite interesting. I myself, for years and years, I was an EMT and a pneumatic, and volunteered on the fire department and local fire department, and moonlighted from time to time, working of a weekend or whenever they needed to fill in, and was a medic and an EMT for quite some time, and of course job changed and lost the certification on all that, and of course moved on, and radio has been a big part of my life for a long time, and you know, all parts of ham radio I enjoy it, from DXing to what we're doing right here with this new technology with Wires X, and but besides that, I've really enjoyed spring gobbler hunting, and I enjoy that immensely. I've spent a lot of time. It's been a lifetime thing, and just something I grew up doing, and I enjoy being a part of the woods in the spring, and it's just a lot of fun. And that along with reloading ammunition, it's kind of something I like to do. Kind of picked up in the last few years, but and all that, like one of the other gentlemen said, working. I work a lot of hours and many days, and I try to fit all that and all this in between that. But great question, and I absolutely enjoy this net. So glad to be a participant. Good evening to everyone, and enjoying the comments. Back to you, Net Control. This is K8RRT.
Okay, Tim, thanks for checking in. And yeah, I did the EMS and fire thing for many years myself. I never got above the level of in Tennessee. We used to have what was called an IV Tech EMT. When I was in Virginia, the same thing was called shock trauma. Different names. I think Virginia's even changed their name. But I started at the age of 16, got my EMT license, and kept it till about 2 years ago. And I was renewing it and doing CEUs and just realized that in my current line of work, I didn't really have to have it or need it because I don't have the time to moonlight with it part-time when I can make more money working overtime at my current job. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. All right. LL, Michael in West Virginia. Michael, Tom, AV8RL is after you, so if you'll do me a favor, when you get done, just turn it to him, because I've got to step into another room really quick. I'll still be able to hear the net, but I won't be near the microphone, so that'll give me that opportunity. But Michael, tell us about any hobbies that you have or any other comments you'd like to make, and then pass it to Tom for me.
NU8LL. Mike, are you in there from AB8RL? Okay, nothing heard from Mike, NU8LL, so I'll pick it up. This is Tom, AB8RL. I really don't have any secondary hobbies. I have interest to get into some other things, but really haven't got into them. But probably never will. Amateur radio has probably been enough, and probably right now number 2 is going to be just family and grandchildren, to be honest. So, Adam, we'll give you a few seconds to get back in there, but you're running a great net, great question. I might have a few other additions years ago, but not at the current time. So we'll say 73s from West Virginia. Glad to have all the check-ins this evening. N4NT, Adam in the net from AB8RL.
Okay, Tom, thanks for checking in. And yeah, you gave me just enough time there. Our FM net tonight ran a little longer than usual, so I had about 2 minutes between the 2 nets, and I had to get net logger and everything else ready. So I had to give myself a break in the middle of this net, if you know what I mean. So anyway, yeah, I tell you, as far as the grandkids go, I waited till I was close to 40 before I had kids. So I've got my kids are. I'm old enough. If I'd had kids early in life, I'd have grandkids, but I didn't. So my kids are young at this age for me. So that definitely I can echo the sentiments. So it definitely is a hobby when you get out there doing things and playing with them. All right, up next we have Sean, W7AZC in Arizona. Have any hobbies to tell us about or any other comments, Sean?
Good evening, Adam, and
Yeah, Sean, we lost you there right after good evening. Not sure what happened. You want to try again? Okay, we'll come back to Sean and give him another shot there in a minute. We'll move through the list and then come back to him. Up next we had Bill, KK4BPT in Johnson City. Bill, you have any hobbies or anything else you'd like to tell us about?
That's interesting. I like the guy with the kites. I built a bunch of single-line kites myself when the kids were smaller. I think the best ones I made were just folded paper on a thread. Those were fun to build. The other one I do is guitar effects pedals and vacuum tube guitar amplifiers. I like to build those. Time consuming, but they're interesting and fun to play with. The person that's interested in archaeology, I like archaeology. I watch a lot of YouTube stuff on archaeology. Very interesting. They're trying to guess and figure out what the lifestyle would be of the people that lived in those areas that you pull up artifacts from. Other than that, we're remodeling about a 100-year-old house here, and I've been still working full time and trying to get back into the amateur radio work here. So that's it for now.
Okay, Bill, thanks for checking in tonight. And yeah, I think I remember hearing you on the Johnson City net earlier tonight, so I'm glad I thought of that one and went over and kind of advertised with you guys tonight. We picked up a few on the other net and some on this net tonight, so that worked out good. All right, up next we have John in West Virginia, KG8AI. Do you have any hobbies or anything else you'd like to tell us about, John?
I don't know where to start. Got so many hobbies. I think I'm probably flighty when it comes to hobbies. I guess beyond amateur radio, not doing it as much as I used to, but I was big on photographing the railroads. Been lucky enough in the national magazines, even got my name on the cover of a book one time. And I'm back into motorcycling after a 30-year hiatus, riding my BMW. In fact, I had it out the day before yesterday. Weather wasn't the greatest, but I just hate to go if I get the urge. But doing some photography, trying to make the digital jump. I was the digital photography jump as opposed to radio. I was into film hard and heavy. Background was in chemistry, so the darkroom stuff was second nature to me. But trying to make the transition to digital photography. This is the first time I've been on digital radio, though. The radio just came today, and I managed to program in a couple of channels, and here I am. That was a great question. I've enjoyed all the answers I've heard from the other folks, but I'll probably be back next week if I remember. KG8AI.
Okay, John, we're definitely glad to have you checking in with us tonight, and appreciate you stopping by. And yeah, come to think of it, nothing on the level of what you're describing, but I've even tried to play around with some photography and that kind of thing. I'm one of those that you buy the expensive SLR camera that kind of comes with a couple lenses, and it's, all of a sudden I'm a star reporter for the Daily Planet or something for a month or two, and then I realize the humbleness of it for me. But I tell you what, though, my wife really does some good photography, so I'll leave that up to her now. My department actually got a grant to buy some of the officers' baseball cards, and I got selected as one, so she did my pictures, and then several of the other folks, we were responsible for getting our own pictures made, and several of the others were like, hey, have her come do ours too, so she ended up doing most of the photography for our baseball cards that we got at the department. All right, up next we have KD4 CCO, Dallas and Bristol. Dallas, happy birthday, and I know you've got a lot of other hobbies. I've seen some of your other hobbies or talked to you about them before, but tell us about some and any other comments you'd like to make.
Good evening, Adam, and everybody on the net. Well, I've had several hobbies throughout my lifetime. I started out being a car nut, and I still am. I just don't have a car that fits the category. I used to work on a lot of old cars, old Chevrolets, even old Fords. keep them running, and then soup them up a little bit, and so forth. But I kind of got away from that, and about the most that I do now with having to do with cars is photography. I take in a lot of the local car shows, Pigeon Forge, Bristol, Abingdon, Marion, the local ones that you can go to in a day's travel. So I'll go and take a bunch of pictures and probably never look at them again, but I enjoy taking pictures. But I guess my number one hobby right now, and it's fading somewhat, is camping. I have a motorhome sitting out in the driveway, and I'll be very glad when spring comes that I can uncover that thing and head to the mountains. We prefer to go to the campgrounds up in the mountains where it's cool in the summertime, and I also use that to support my other hobby of photography of car shows. So we'll load the thing up and head down to Pigeon Forge and stay a while down there taking pictures of the cars when they have a car show. So I guess that's about it. Appreciate everybody's comments on the birthday. Another year older, and we're not deeper in debt. That's one good thing about being retired. So anyway, back to net control. We'll see 73. This is KD4 CCO.
Okay, Dallas, thanks for checking in, and yeah, I can kind of echo two of those. I definitely would like to get into taking my kids camping, get some kind of camper or motorhome set up at some point in the future, and get the kids and take them camping. I know they would enjoy that. And then I mentioned earlier about my interest in cars. Just don't kind of like you said, I don't have an old car or what have you to take to any of the car shows, but I like to go and look at everybody else's. And they have that annual car show on State Street down here in Bristol, Virginia, and Tennessee. And I know I've seen you there, and you and Gary there a few years in a row that work that. And there's a fellow that has like it's an 87 or 88, I believe it's 87 Chevrolet Monte Carlo down there, that one of these days I'm going to have the money and I'm going to talk him out of it. So that's the car I'd like to have. If not him, I'll find me one of these days. I'll go to Pigeon Forge or something and pick one up. All right, up next we have N9YBK, Chicago Matt. Matt, any hobbies or anything else you'd like to tell us about?
Oh, good evening, Adam. Good evening, everyone else on the net. Chicago Matt, N9YBK. Obviously, I'm from the Chicagoland area. And as such, when I retired from law enforcement, bounced around, did a few hobbies, like geocaching. That was kind of fun. I like hiking with a purpose, or getting out in nature with a purpose kind of thing. All of my hobbies seem to turn into careers of some sort. I'm retired, but working as a web developer, and that started out as a hobby. After I retired from law enforcement, I got into photography. And with my connections in law enforcement, thought it'd be a great way to, photo scenes or fire scenes, things like that. Instead, it took a different direction and ended up being a part-time career as a photojournalist, covering everything from major concerts, major headlining concerts here in the Chicagoland area, which we get many of those, to interesting things like the Chicago Auto Show or the International Motorcycle Show, or even things as crazy as the comic book convention, C2E2, and others that come into the area. So getting to see celebrities of all sorts and hanging out with them. I had a good time hanging out with REO Speedwagon one time. We had dinner together backstage and sat around and talked about career and different things like that. And I get questions a lot. Let me reset real quick before I say that. All right, I get questions a lot about my QRZ page, or my QSL card that's on my QRZ page. It shows a police car with my call sign on the side of it, me hanging out the window, and a camera flying behind me off of my neck. And they always thought that I got my start in photography from photoing crime scenes and things like that while I was on the police department. Now, we used a Polaroid back then. We didn't use film or anything else. We just cheaped out and used a Polaroid, and that isn't how I got my start. It just started out as a hobby and turned into a career, but now I'm semi-retired from the photojournalism. So due to some health issues, it makes it difficult for me to lug around the camera and all the equipment needed to cover events. But it was a good run while it happened. So that was fun. So I'm going to pass it back to Adam. But let me reset real quick. I'll give one quick plug before I send it back. All right, my quick plug. Friends of Amateur Radio Group is raffling off a Yaesu FT3DR, the new handheld from Yaesu. And that'll be raffled off on February 15th. So if you'd like to know more information about that, you can go to farg.club. That's farg.club for the Friends of Amateur Radio Group's website. Or you can follow us on QSO America on Facebook. That's QSOamerica.com. That'll take you right to our Facebook page. You can find out more information about the raffle and when it'll be held and so on and so forth. And good luck to those that have already got their tickets. So back to you, Adam, a fellow Friends of Amateur Radio Group member, N4NT from N9YBK.
Okay, Matt, thanks for checking in and for that information. And yeah, and mentioning the raffle, I've bought I think about 10 tickets myself so far, and I plan on before the 13th going ahead and purchasing some more. I may even do that tonight while I'm thinking about it. If not, I'll do it tomorrow. Speaking of the FT3DR, I have future plans of purchasing one. But I'm usually not very lucky when it comes to winning raffles, but just for the power of positive thinking, I'm going to wait until I see how the raffle goes before I purchase one. That way I don't end up with two, because I only need one, as much as I wouldn't mind having a couple. But if I could get lucky enough to win the raffle, that would save me at least the money of the radio. I'd have to get some accessories, but that'd be okay. I could deal with that. But yeah, I plan on picking one of those up in the near future. So anybody here local that wants to check it out when I get it, I don't know too many other people around that have them, but I'll bring it to club meetings and so forth to let folks see if they like it and want to get tempted by it. All right, up next. Oh, and by the way, the FARG.club, I put that information on the Facebook page. Net recording, and then also on NetLogger. Check that out. They have some really good nets over there, multiple nights of the week, and I actually recorded last night's net, and I'm getting ready to upload it to YouTube here in a little while, just to give you a sampling of what goes on there. All right, up next, our last check-in so far, number 18 on the list, KE8 LSN, Randy in South Charleston, West Virginia. Randy, tell us about any hobbies or anything else you'd like. Randy, KE8 LSN, are you still with us? Okay, nothing heard from Randy there. He may have been in and out, or I know sometimes we run a little late on this net, and that's understandable. We don't get offended if you have to leave. We definitely want you checking in with us, so always continue to do so. And if your eyes get heavy before we're done, before we get to you, we understand. Let me give Sean in Yuma, Arizona, W7AZC. Let me give you another try there. Sean, are you still with us? Okay, well, we're gonna go ahead and take another round of check-ins if there's anybody out there. But as always, before we end up closing it, we always give those who have already checked in another opportunity to. We don't run the list again, but we just kind of open it up if anybody else has anything. So at this time, we will open it up for any other station that'd like to check in. Please call now.
K7RKL.
Go Victor, Jeff in Indiana.
Okay, we picked up a couple there, K7RKL in Arizona and K9JTV in Indiana. Any other stations, please call now. Okay, we'll go back for some comments on the couple that we picked up here. Looks like both of you are new to the net, as the best I can tell. So if you're just joining us, we do pose a question of the night, and I'll tell you what that is momentarily. But also, if you go by anything that other than what comes up in QRZ, let me know, and we do use NetLogger, and I will change that and update my NetLogger to where we call you what you want to go by in the future. Up first, I have K7RKL. It's coming up as Robert in Arizona. The question of the night, if you missed that, is do you have any hobbies other than amateur radio that you'd like to tell us about? And if they relate to amateur radio, how so? Answering of the question is strictly optional, and you can make any other comments that you'd like. Go ahead, K7RKL.
Thank you. Name here is Bob. I'm 18 with stationary in Missoula, Montana right now. Hobbies. I mean, I have so many of them. I like bicycle riding. I would say I like fishing, but I haven't been. I went out about 4 months ago, got me a fishing license, a pole, and some tackle, and I'm hoping I use that license before it expires. Let's see. Model airplanes, remote control airplanes. I really like them, and I want to get into running some VHF with the or UHF, with the remote control airplanes. Whatever they call it, the cameras, and run amateur frequencies with the remote control airplanes, so that I can let them take off in the distance and watch them on the first-person view or whatever. And there's a bunch more, but I'm so busy working. I don't really take out much time to enjoy my hobbies anymore. I did have a question. I just bought a couple of raffle tickets for that FP3DR numbers, or I just gotta, you know, trust there. Anyway, it's good to hear you guys all in here. I believe, like I said, I was a paid work in the parking lot here, and you got to, so I figured I'd throw a check in it. So back to you, Adam. This is K7RKL in Missoula. Okay.
Okay, Bob, I got your name updated there, and then of course I changed the location for tonight's net there to Montana. Thanks for checking in with us, and yeah, I've purchased some of those tickets as well, and Matt at Chicago Matt that's on here tonight, N9YBK, he responded with an email and gave me the range of ticket numbers that I have there. So yeah, you should get something back from them at some point in the near future, and if not, there should be a contact on the website there. But I know when I got mine, I think I may have purchased some more today, maybe, or yesterday. I can't remember. I get my days mixed up with my job, and weekends don't matter and all that kind of stuff. But I know he responded pretty quickly when I ordered mine there. All right, Owen, we're here every Tuesday night in this room at 9:30 Eastern time, or I guess 02:30 Zulu, and you're more than welcome to join us at any time. All right, up next we have K9JTV. Got you as Jeff in Indiana. Tell us about any hobbies or any other comments you'd like to make tonight.
Good evening, Adam, and everyone on the net. K9JTV, Martinsville, Indiana, about 20 miles south of Indianapolis. And glad to join your net tonight. I have the list of all the WiresX nets, and just sort of going through and checking in on any of them that I can. Enjoying WiresX. We have a local WiresX repeater here, and people are really becoming interested and starting to utilize it. That's a good deal. As far as hobbies, I'm also a model airplane flyer. Have several model airplanes, mainly fixed-wing airplanes. I do have a couple of helicopters, and am in the process of building a quadcopter for first-person view. Part of the reason I got a ham ticket was so I could, I could do first-person view legally. Although I haven't been into it until here recently. So really enjoy flying model airplanes. I'm really concerned that the FAA's notice of proposed rulemaking that if it goes through the way that it's proposed, it's basically going to destroy the hobby. And so really getting behind people pushing the FAA and trying to save the hobby. But with that, we'll say 73 to everybody on the net, and hope you all have a good evening, and we'll probably be back to catch you next week. This is K9JTV, back to net control.
Okay, Jeff, thanks for checking in tonight, and had a few people mention model airplanes as well. That's something I never got into. I was interested in at one point in time when I was younger and didn't have the finances to do it. And now my oldest son has been mentioning he seems really interested in drones, and we've got him some what I call cheaper model drones. Here he's acquired a couple of those for Christmas and that kind of thing, and he's been playing around with those and doing really well. So we might look at getting him something a little more, I don't know, for lack of a better word, professional, and something that you can send up with a camera and all that kind of stuff. And of course, I can't tell why old Dad's interested in that too. So that'll be a good thing for us to do together. All right, that brings us to the bottom of the list once again. Are there any other stations that would like to check in with us tonight? Okay, well, you've been a great crowd. Don't forget to tip your waiters and waitresses and all that kind of good stuff. But seriously, is there anyone else that has anything else for the net tonight? Please call. KW4AG, Dennis, you want to check in with us tonight?
Yeah, good evening, Adam. KW4AG.
Well, Dennis, we're winding down, so I'll go ahead and turn it over to you if you want to make some comments. The net question of the night was tell us about any hobbies that you have outside of amateur radio that you'd like to tell us, or any other comments.
For some reason, having a hard time copying you. Kind of cutting in and out on us with my radio or what?
Yeah, I'm not sure. You're coming in fine there. Yeah, I was just turning it over to you for comments, and we were asking tonight about any hobbies that folks had outside of amateur radio they'd like to tell us about.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just check me in and out for right now. Thank you, Adam. KW4AG, back to you.
Okay, Dennis, thanks for checking in tonight. All right, are there any other stations before we close? All right, anyone on the list have anything else? All right, as they say, if all minds are clear, our stats for tonight, we had 7 states represented, and at one time we had 15 nodes connected. All stations that checked in were in the United States. Thanks to each one of you for taking time to check in. This is Bob Barker with The Price is Right, reminding you to have your pet spayed or neutered. But seriously, this is M4NT closing the Tri-Cities Mountain Empire Fusion Net at 10:34 local time and 03:34 Zulu. 7-3 and good night from N4NT.